friends, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be me discussing my thoughts on Once Upon a Sunset by Tiff Marcelo. I have a lot of thoughts. Let's just get into the book. So if you guys don't know how this goes, for my book reviews, these do tend to be typically spoiler free. Seldom will I ever make a review that is going to be filled with spoilers unless I had a breakdown in the middle of reviewing the book and I just had to explain spoilers. Anything spoiler free will typically be like my book of the week, which is my currently reads, or a vlog. So you guys, if you guys are interested in this book, you don't have to fear about spoilers. Or if maybe you haven't heard of this book and you're like, oh, well that looks interesting. No fear for spoilers. None. Moving on to the synopsis. Once Upon a Sunset by Tiff Marcelo is an adult contemporary romance. It's probably the closest way I can put it, following Diana Gallagher Carey, who is a very well-known obstetrician in her town. She works for a pretty high-end hospital. She does pretty well for herself and everyone loves her. That is until one day she ends up making a call that saves a patient's life, but ultimately becomes a very huge publicity situation for the hospital, who asks her to go on a leave until everything kind of blows over. While on this leave, she's having her house renovated and her mother is moving in after the death of her grandmother. Now while her and her mother Margot are looking through her grandmother's things, they find a set of letters from her grandfather whom she thought had died during World War II. Now with this newfound information and an upsetting amount of time, Diana and her mother venture to the Philippines to find this family and figure out exactly what happened between her grandmother and her grandfather. Trigger warnings for this book. This does have discussions of war. Clearly the letters are from World War II. Can't help it. We do have abandonment, discussions of abandonment, the birthing process. It's not mentioned on, it's mentioned on the page actually, I'm not gonna lie. Cheating, that is not mentioned, that's more mentioned on the page, it doesn't happen on the page. And finally, death. Moving on to my first thoughts of this book before I had even read it. I was really interested in this. As you guys know, I am on my journey to include more Filipino authored books or books with Filipino characters in my usual TBR. It's my attempt at becoming closer to my culture in a situation where I'm very far from my culture. But I was really interested in this book. Again, it sounds like a very interesting read. It does sound like a very diaspora situation where the family goes and gets more in touch with their culture. So I was interested to see how that was going to happen. I also wanted to know about the romance aspect in this book, not because I was hesitant on it, but because in instances like this where you're talking about the past and then going forward into the present day, there tends to be a dual timeline of one couple in the present day falling in love and another couple in the past falling in love. Happens with, what was it? The Longest Ride by Nicholas Sparks. Happens in, she dated a gangster, which is a Filipino movie. It's just a popular trope to use in situations like this. So I wanted to know exactly how heavy the romance went into this. I also wanted to know how much of the Filipino culture is showcased. I have never read a Tiff Marcelo book before, and the book that I bought with this book was not so great, and we will not discuss how upsetting that book was. If y'all know what book I'm talking about, y'all are on my channel, but if not, it's probably best you don't ever see the side of me. I actually started out writing my review with the good things that I enjoyed, but considering that I only had really realistically one bad thing, we're gonna start with the things I did not like in this book. I only wrote one thing, but realistically I lied and I have two. So the first thing is that I feel like that the situation where they find out what happened to Diana's grandmother and grandfather and their relationship was pretty much glossed over. You find out what happens and that's not specifically it's not something just in a sentence that kind of gets glossed over, but I feel like the reactions, since there was so much happening in this, in those couple of scenes, the reactions to exactly what had happened had gotten severely glossed over, and we don't get to see exactly how Diana or Margot would have reacted to the situation, or any feelings of hurt or resentment or any of that stuff that had happened. The other thing I didn't like too much was the romance. I felt like the chemistry was there in the beginning, and then a kind of a big almost rom-com kind of twist happens that is meant to be you can relax after you find out about it, but I feel like that little twist fizzled out whatever chemistry the couple had. And then it was mixed with a lot of just family drama and just questioning all of this here, and I felt like I just was not a fan, but I wasn't as attached to the romance as I was in the beginning when it had been first introduced. So that was my only thing. In terms of good things, I do love the fact that it's basically a big book for the diaspora. We get to see Diana travel to the Philippines and learn more about her culture and learn more about the family that she didn't know existed, and like how the Filipinos work in terms of family and openness and all that fun stuff. I really enjoy that because, again, one of my concerns was that it wasn't going to be as like into like Filipino culture, but we did get to see that. We got to see kind of just the welcomeness that a lot of Filipinos tend to have, for better or for worse. Like, they welcomed these two literal strangers who were like, yeah, we might be related, into their home without question. And to boot, I loved seeing just the culture around the food. We get to see them talk about their food a lot, and how like there's one particular scene, I won't spoil it, but that one like made me tear up a little bit. I also just love the healthy family dynamics within this novel, not only from Diana and Margot, but also like just, again, like the willingness that this family had to bring in these two strangers and be like, you're family now. Come down, sit, eat, let us discuss. I love that. I loved that everyone was listened to. It sounds so bad, but everyone had an opinion, and everyone, their opinions mattered, and it was just so nice to read. Colette, who is Diana's cousin in this book, biological half-cousin, I believe, is just so painfully Filipino. Like, she's just so painfully Filipino, and I loved it so much. I just, like, there were so many titas and ates and lolas, and like just like genuine, like just Filipino hospitality, and I was just like in love with her so much. Like, I wanted to see more of her on the page, but I know why she wasn't there, because she was a very side character. Overall, I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. Definitely more on the lower 5, just because my expectations of it were a little different, and I think in terms of like the big reveal, it kind of did like ding me down a little bit, but not enough for me to not love this book. It's such a love letter to like, it's just such a love letter to like falling in love with your culture, and like getting to be closer to your culture that you don't really know. I highly recommend this book for anyone who maybe diaspora or has like seen it on their shelves and has been like, what is this about? It is definitely like, the romance is definitely a little bit on the, no, it's there, I'd like to say, but it's there, but it's just not a strong factor as is like them going and learning more about their culture and their people and like everything that makes them them, and like bringing together both the American and the Filipino into one, which is what Diana and Margot are. But that is it for this video. If you guys enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments down below. But until next time, hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, and if not, hopefully your day gets better for y'all. And if you guys want more of these videos, let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and I'll talk to you guys in my next one. Bye.